My favorite memory, of course, with my parents is always going camping with them together as a family up to Wisconsin, like Oshkosh, and I think to Canada, Niagara Falls, and how much fun we had. My dad would always do all the cooking and let Mom take it easy with the cooking, and which is a thing to remember. My dad, my favorite memory is I would go to the train station and meet him after work when he was coming home from Chicago, and he was always so happy and appreciative that I had come, and we'd walk home and we would talk, and sometimes it would be raining and we'd walk together under the umbrella, and that was always special for me, and I think for him too. And a lot of times I would go to work with him in Chicago on Saturday while he finished up some things, and then he would take me to lunch at the top of the rock of the Prudential building. And it always made me feel very, very special, and he always seemed to enjoy that as well as much as I did. My mom, I really enjoyed the time she and I went to the Wagon Wheel Resort, which is in Rockton, Illinois, no longer there. But she and I had kind of a mother-daughter getaway weekend. Went ice skating and swimming and ate in their lodge, and I just remember, thinking that was, can remember the smells and everything about that Wagon Wheel Resort. And also, she and I would lay in my bed at night on the house on Wright Street and just talk, just sing for hours before bedtime, and just lay there and visit and talk about all kinds of things, even junior high and high school, and that was always kind of sweet and nice for a mother and daughter to do. So happy anniversary, Mom and Dad, we love you.
So a couple stories about when we were growing up. And I'm sure the statute of limitations is passed already, so can't get into too much trouble. But I remember going on a camping trip in Wisconsin, and all of our camping trips were around August, right before school started, because Dad thought that, the allergy season was worst right in September, so we had to go north to get away from all the hay fever and the ragweed and stuff. But anyway, we had one summer where we were in the Boy Scout tents as usual, and it was raining, and it was a miserable camping trip because we were all stuck in the tents for days and days and days. And my mom and dad, I think, were just sick and tired of us, so they decided that they were going to feed us hot chocolate and brandy to ward off the cold. At least that's what they told us. And so I'm sure we were all sitting around the tent hammered at our young age, but we didn't know any better, and it was a pretty good camping trip after all. Okay, so I'm not sure this story is true either, but this is the way I remember it, is that during the summer, we'd get up in the morning, my mom would have, make breakfast for us, and she'd send us out the door and say, don't come back until lunch. And we'd go out and play. We'd come back at lunch, and there'd be lunch on the table, and she'd, have a great spread for us at lunch. And she'd say, don't come back until dinner, and we'd take off, and we'd go out and play until 5 o'clock, and we'd come back home, and there was dinner made. So we were out all day long in the neighborhoods, and playing around, and everybody, all the neighbors knew if we got into trouble, we knew that all the neighbors would rat us out. So, we were always pretty good and pretty well watched, but, I just remember her shooing us out the door, and we never saw her except for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. So another camping story, we went to South Dakota one year, and again in the Boy Scout tents, and it was great trip, really beautiful up there, but I remember that, here it is middle of August or the end of August, and it snowed up there one day, and we got up in the morning and there was a half an inch of snow on the ground and on the tents and everything, and we made the best of it, still had a good time, but I don't think we were quite prepared for snow that night.
Hi Mom, hi Dad. Congratulations on 60 years of marriage. It's quite an achievement and quite a goal for many people to strive for, and you've certainly achieved that. want to thank you for all the support and love and kindness you've showed over the years for Mark, Mary Beth, and I. All the prayers have been accepted and received, and the standards that you have set have been recognized, and I'm sure they will be passed down from generation to generation. Love you both, and have a great party. I'm sure Mark, Mary Beth can appreciate the family dinners we had at our great-grandmother's house, grossmutter we called her, and we had some pretty entertaining times there, either on Easter or Christmas, and the memories of getting together with family were extremely important for us as we grew up. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Cub Scouts, living on Huffman Street, sledding down the hill, riding bikes out in the field, going on the camping trips with Mom and Dad, just lovely, and having get-togethers with the Elmans next door where it was just awesome.
Hi, Grandma and Grandpa. This is the beginning of my last week in Montana, and I'll be coming home in just a week, and I'm so excited to see you guys. But first I thought I would talk about some of my favorite memories of you guys, namely the amazing trip you took me on for my 8th grade graduation present when we went to Seattle and British Columbia and took the train from Chicago all the way to Seattle, and the one night when the train stopped in Glacier and Grandma and I got out, and I was just looking around at all the mountains and the trees and the mountain goat statue and everything, and I was like, Grandma, I'm going to live here someday. And Grandma was like, okay, sure. And here I am finishing up my summer living out here in Montana, and I owe a lot of that to you guys for always being so encouraging, and making me feel like anything that I put my mind to, I can do with a little hard work, and for always just being there and loving us through everything and so encouraging. So that was an amazing trip. We went up in the Space Needle. I saw the ocean for my first time. We went to the rainforest, Olympic National Park, those lavender fields. You guys let me walk around on the beach all day and look at tide pools, and when we went to Chinatown and saw on the menu that pigeon, the baked squab, that was really gross. I still remember that, and how I got detained in the airport on the way home for trying to bring a dead shark in a jar onto the plane, and Grandma was really worried, but we made it and had an awesome time. And that's one of my all-time favorite memories, both of you guys and just in general. And thank you so much for being so generous and bringing me out there. And then so much more. I could go on for days, but that 14-mile canoe trip that Grandpa and I took when I was like 13, and that was really fun. I'd never done anything like that before, and then I was just like, 14 miles, that's crazy, we're awesome. And we had a fun time doing that, and all the fishing, that time that Grandpa caught that huge sheep's head fish when he was trout fishing at Gephardt Woods. That was exciting. And how Grandma always used to make us pancakes when we were staying at the bed and breakfast, and how we got to meet so many people. And you guys have always been so generous with all your time and talents, opening up your home to complete strangers from all around the world with the bed and breakfast, and then just being so kind and encouraging to everyone in your lives. And you mean so much to so many people. And so thank you so much for 20 years of amazing memories and love, and happy 60th anniversary. So I love you guys, and I'll see you in a few days.
Hi Grandma and Grandpa, happy anniversary. I was trying to think of some memories to share with you and everyone. There were too many to pick from, so one thing I realized is that most of them happened at your old house on Wright Street, so I thought I would show you a couple of the memories that I have. So this is your house on Wright Street today, and this is, like I said, where most of my memories with you guys took place. I can always remember being so excited to come over to your house because I knew it would be a fun time, whether we were going to do something like go on a walk or get to eat a good meal or just get to explore through the house and your scary basement and your attic. And here's the backyard of the old house. There's Grandpa's garage where he could be found a lot of the time. I remember there was always a doorbell inside that Grandma could push from the inside so she could let you know when dinner was ready. And it looks like your sticker is still on the window there. And believe it or not, I think I can still smell the old buffalo skin inside. Another place I used to love going to was right here. It's the Busy Bee. It used to be an old CD swap store and also a vacuum replayer place. But I remember Ryan and I used to love going here to check out the new CDs. Here is what used to be the old band shell. Looks a lot different than it did when I remember it, but I used to love coming in here with you guys to listen to music on Thursday nights. And even if we couldn't come, I can always remember being able to hear it in your backyard having dinner. There's the playground across the street we used to play at. There's Kreger's where we used to walk to and get milk or whatever. It was a little grocery store. That was fun. This is Arnold's Market. It used to be a deli that I can remember you guys taking the grandkids to pick up some meat, or I remember getting candy there and always being excited to get a Coke out of the old-fashioned pop machine. This is behind their old house at Huffman Street, the infamous field. I personally don't have a memory of it, but I'll never forget the stories my dad told me about it. I may be wrong about the building here, but I believe this is the one. North Central College building. It used to be a cafeteria. Grandma used to take us here when she didn't feel like cooking. There's another playground Grandma and Grandpa used to take us to, Ellsworth School, where my dad, Kevin, and Mary Beth each went. And that's the Carole factory or train station that we used to walk to. I think Grandma and Grandpa even brought me on my first train ride there when I was a kid.
I'll always remember the very first time that I met Carole. Mary Beth had invited me over to their house for a little party. It was the first time I had met Mary Beth, and I didn't know anybody at all at the party, and I was kind of wandering around talking to people and not really knowing anybody, but Carole came up and introduced herself to me and asked me about myself. And we were out on their front porch, and there was a dollhouse there that I was looking at, and she told me that she had made this dollhouse, and I was very impressed with that. It was very well constructed, and it was absolutely beautiful, and I remember being impressed by that, as well as the fact that she made me feel welcome at their house, and that was the very first time that I met her. And the other thing that I always think of when I think about Carole that has always amused me is when she goes to an auction. And the first time I witnessed this, we were living in Kentucky, and she went to an auction and she saw something there that she really wanted, and all of a sudden this total transformation came over her, kind of like the Incredible Hulk, where all of a sudden she went from this happy-go-lucky person to this, her eyes glazed over, her face went stone, and she stood there and stared at the auctioneer and just began to bid up this item that she wanted until she had it bought. And so when she sees something like that she wants in an auction, she gets it bought. So from now on, whenever there's something at an auction that I want, I don't even go, I just send Carole to buy it for me because I know I'll get it. The favorite story I have of Ed, the favorite memory, is when Madeline was born, and Madeline was very difficult labor for Mary Beth. It was her first baby, and there was a lot of pushing going on, and Mary Beth the next morning after it was broken blood vessels in her face. She had black eyes and looked pretty tough. And when Carole and Ed came to the hospital to visit, Carole began to look at the baby and was oohing and eyeing over the new baby and asking Mary Beth how she was doing. And then Ed walked in the door, and he took one look at Mary Beth, and he stopped cold in his tracks, and he said, "What the hell happened to you?" And Mary Beth said, "I just had a baby, Dad," and we all had a good laugh out of that, but we'll always all remember that. But I guess the last memory that I have concerns the both of them. It was just a few weeks ago. I was driving home from work and happened to be passing by their house, and I saw Carole and Ed in the backyard, and Ed had obviously been working in the garden or something. He had work gloves on, and his knees were all grass stained, and Carole was helping him walk to the house. He was having difficulty walking after having been sitting on the ground for so long, and she had his arm and was helping him up to the house, and it just kind of epitomized what 60 years of marriage is really all about. So happy anniversary, Carole and Ed.
Okay, a story about Ed. When I first started dating Mark, I was going over to his house, and you know, at the house they lived on, Wright Street, you had to go around the back door. So I walked along the side, and I see his dad working in the garden, and I look, and I thought, oh my gosh, he doesn't have any clothes on. And then he's, you know, kind of looks up and in perfect Ed fashion acts like nothing's wrong and says hello to me, and comes walking over, and I realize that he has what is it?
Breach.
A breechcloth. He has a breechcloth on. And I was so taken back, and I had never experienced a breechcloth before, and I thought that I didn't know there was a flap underneath it, and so I was afraid that a big wind would come up and, you know, lift it, and I was going to see something that maybe I did not want to see. So, but anyway, Mark came out, saved me, explained everything, and we were all good. Okay, a story about Carole now. What I remember about Carole is that everything she did, I always felt like she did with such grace. And the thing that always, you know, I appreciated the most was how elegant she could make the most simple things. And so even putting together a dinner, she could put peanut butter and jelly sandwiches out on the table with olives and you know, some type of fruit, and somehow it felt like it was this really elegant dinner. So anyway, that was always the thing that I most appreciated about what she was able to do, and actually envied and tried to mimic, but was never very good at it.
My favorite memory of Grandpa is on a graduation trip to California that they took me on after 8th grade. We were driving in the rental car to Yosemite from San Francisco, and it was so hot, and so the air conditioning was shut off, and Grandpa was speeding along these mountain roads right along the cliff, talking away. Grandma's in the back seat clutching on for dear life, but Grandpa was just so confident and so happy talking to me in the front seat. I just thought it was so hilarious, and that made a big impact on me. He would probably deny it, but I think I inherited my lead foot from him. And then my favorite memory of Grandma is when they had the bed and breakfast in Ottawa. If we had forgotten to bring a swimsuit over the weekend, she would take us to her neighbor's pool to go swimming, to give us swimming lessons, and just let us swim in our underwear. And obviously it didn't matter back then, but I just thought it was the weirdest thing, but she was totally fine with it, and just taught me that it's okay to be spontaneous and to have a little fun. And then my favorite memory of both of them together, I have so many of them, but I think what made a huge impact on me was this past year going to college for the first year, and anytime that I would get a voicemail from one of them on my phone saying that they missed me and they wanted to talk, and then talking to them and just hearing how much they supported me and anything that I did, it really made it all worthwhile being there and working so hard, knowing that someone was caring about you and was supporting you back home. So they've both been such a huge part of my 19 years of life. They've taught me how to be adventurous and spontaneous, but how to be classy at the same time. And I think most importantly, especially with our 60-year celebration, they've taught me about love, and love for a child, love for your grandchildren, love for a spouse, love for a friend, and even love for a stranger. And that's really important to me.
My fondest memories of Grandma and Grandpa would be, for Grandma, it would probably be back when they lived in the house in Ottawa, and I was little, and I remember sometimes after Madeline and Nana had violin lessons, I would sleep over there, and I hadn't been planning on sleeping over, so Grandma would go get me one of her big shirts to wear as a nightgown, and then I would sleep in their bedroom by the window and watch the barges and stuff. And then during the day, Grandma and I would get one of the big fish Jello molds or something, and we would make Jello and put it in the fridge, and then we would take bread and walk down to the river and feed it to the ducks, and then go visit Grandma Heffel at the Cora J. Pope home, and then go back, and by then our Jello would usually be done, and we would get to eat that. And I always remember that we just really enjoyed those times. And then for Grandpa, I'd say it would have to be when we went on my 8th grade graduation trip to Alaska, and Grandpa took me fishing on, it was a boat out, we were salmon fishing, and I caught a big salmon, and Grandpa I think he was a lot happier than me, which made me happy that Grandpa was happy. So that was definitely a fun time, and I'll never forget that at all. And also, Grandpa, when he first got his car, and I remember his fancy one, of course, and he was so happy, and he would take me riding it and everything, and I like to pop out the cup holders, and Grandpa would always make fun of me for that too. But we had a good time. He says he's going to let me drive it soon, so I'm sure that'll be another big memory with Grandpa in my future.
Hi, Grandma and Grandpa. I have so many memories from both of you, but I have to say that one of my favorites from Grandpa was when he taught me how to ride the tandem bike, and rode down to downtown Ottawa and just hung out on that all day after he taught me. I also have to say that following him when he was doing his canoe races, we would try and get to the next checkpoint and wave at him and cheer him on as much as we could, and then meet him at the end of the race when he was done. For Grandma, I would have to say that my favorite was when she would take me down to downtown Chicago, and we'd have girls' days at the beach and go eat out and just live it up in the city. Also, I remember that Grandma always taught me anytime I stayed over not to waste a bed. So she said a bed was there to use, and get in the middle and sprawl out and use it. I cannot believe that it's been 60 years for you guys. It is absolutely wonderful and pretty unbelievable to be going that long and strong for 60 years. So love you both and happy anniversary.
Grandma and Grandpa have been a big part of my life. For instance, I probably wouldn't even be dancing without them. My favorite memory with Grandpa is when he took me fishing at Gepard Woods. It was fun because we didn't catch anything, but I still enjoyed it. Grandma would always let me sleep over, and then in the morning we would make pancakes, and sometimes she would take me to school. They took me to the zoo, and they bought me a dolphin, which I still have. I love my grandma and grandpa very much, and I just wanted to wish them a happy 60th anniversary.
Hi Grandma and Grandpa, happy anniversary. It's hard to pick out just one memory for each of you since I have a ton growing up. Your home in a lot of ways was like a second home to me. One memory that I have though of my grandpa was when I was growing up, you guys always had Mr. Bubbles at your house, which was this great bubble bath, and it made the best bubbles, and they were light and fluffy, and there was tons of them, and my parents never had it, which made it even more special. And I would often take bubble baths at your house. I remember one time I was probably about 12 years old, and for those of you who don't know, my grandparents only have one bathroom in their house, and then they also had some kind of weird, creepy toilet in their basement that nobody liked using. And so I was in there, the bathtub, nice and relaxed, and all of a sudden there was this loud knock on the door, and it was my grandpa, and he said, "I'm coming in." And he flew the door open, and I grabbed the curtain and closed it as quick as I could, and there I was, 12 years old, with this little tiny thin curtain just separating him and I. Definitely a little awkward at the time, but kind of funny now. Now, one memory that I have of my grandma is that you always had this way of making your house feel like a hotel when I would come and stay with you. Everything was better there for some reason. You would make milkshakes, and you had this neat little milkshake maker, and it made the shakes better and sweeter and thicker and creamier for some reason, and we would have those all the time when we stayed over. And when I would go to bed, you would always tuck me in your pineapple bed upstairs, and the bed would always be made in this white down comforter and all these white pillows. There were tons of pillows, and it was so fluffy, and I would lay in the bed, and I remember the feathers would just engulf me. You would oftentimes bring in your little black and white TV also and let me watch TV as I was falling asleep, and which again was another treat for me because I didn't have a TV in my room growing up. And then in the mornings, you'd wake up to the smell of bacon in your house. It would just permeate the entire house, and there would be pancakes and toast and jam and orange juice. Everything you could imagine was on this beautiful table for, children who at the time didn't know any better, but now look back, and it was really just the neatest thing and such a great memory. Thank you both for instilling a love of cooking and baking in me, and for showing me, like my parents, that a lifetime married to one person is possible and beautiful. And I hope you guys have many, many more years to come.
Hello, Aunt Carole and Uncle Ed. I know you've never seen my kids face to face. You've never actually met them face to face. So I wanted to make sure that each of them were included in this video to wish you a happy 60th anniversary, because I love you immensely. Aunt Carole, you've been a big, huge influence in my life, more than you'll ever know, and I will love you forever and ever until the day I die and beyond. And Ed, I know you've tried to kick me in the butt a number of times, and I'm grateful for it, even though at the time I probably didn't like it, and I probably could have deserved a bigger kick in the butt. But both of you are been just immensely invaluable to me, and I am very grateful that I could have you as part of my family. And I hope you enjoyed the video of my children, and you see all of their beautiful faces and their bright and shining smiles. Happy 60th anniversary. I love you both. Bye-bye.
Hello, Aunt Carole, Uncle Ed. I'm Nathan. I'm 16, and I'd like to wish you a happy 60th wedding anniversary. I love you.
Hi, Aunt Carole and Uncle Ed. My name is Lexi, and I'm almost 13. Happy 60th anniversary. Love you.
Hello, Aunt Carole and Uncle Ed. I'm Isaiah. I'm 11 years old now. And happy 60th anniversary.
I love you.
I love you.
Go.
Hello, Aunt Carole and Uncle Ed. I'm Abigail, and I'm 8 years old. Remember the time where you gave me the money to go to Seattle for my operation? I want to thank you for that. Happy 60th anniversary. I love you.